Hello and welcome to whatever day of the week it is today. I'm lost. It's everything in quarantine is confusing. Anyway, I have a problem that I need to talk to you guys about, and that is I get really bored and buy things on the internet. So I had, oh my gosh, it's so heavy. I had boxes come in the mail today. It's also raining outside, if you can tell by the side of this box. But yeah, I've got some boxes that I figured I just might, oh my gosh, I gotta put it down. I might as well do a whole unboxing video with my boxes, and you can share on the things that I buy on the internet that I don't need, but I bought anyway. First one is from Uncommon Tea, or August Uncommon Tea, I guess is the name on the back here. But it's tea. I ordered tea because I've been drinking a lot of tea in quarantine. Actually, mostly I've been drinking a lot of tea because my allergies suck, and the hot tea helps with my throat. So I got one of these teas in a subscription box a couple of months ago, and I really liked it, so I ordered it. And then to get free shipping, I ordered a couple of other ones. So let's see what we got. First off, this is Low Country black tea with bourbon and burnt sugar notes. I love bourbon. I love tea. So why not bourbon and tea in the same drink? It's perfect. I also went to college in Charleston, South Carolina, which is part of the Low Country. So there you go. First tea. That's the one I'm going to be drinking after this video. The next tea is the one that I ordered because of, or the reason that I placed this order, which is the Tropic of Capricorn tea, with a green tea with eucalyptus and dragon fruit. This, like I said, I got it in a subscription box and it was so good that I had to order it, so I ordered it. Then I needed about like $5 more to get free shipping. So I ordered a couple of just small $2.99 bags to, you know, get over that hump and just to try out. So this is black metallic, which is floral black tea with violet and elderberry notes, which just sounded good, but I'm not really sure what it's going to taste like. And then this is jet black, which is rich black tea with roasted matte and espresso bean. So I also like coffee. So if I can combine coffee and tea into one drink, why wouldn't I do that? That's not normally something that I'd mix though. So I was like, I'm gonna try a small sample of this before I like commit to it. So I've got these 4 teas. They were delicious. Well, I don't know if they're delicious or not. I know the Tropic of Capricorn is delicious, but acceptable. This also comes with like a how to brew card and a little spoon so you can scoop out your exact serving of tea, which is really cool. This is plastic, but it's like a fairly sturdy plastic. So awesome. And that is the first order down tea done. The next order is from Amazon Prime. This is a book that I pre-ordered that came in. And this is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which I saw somebody on BookTube talk about. I honestly can't remember who, but I was like, I need everything about this in my life. This is by Grady Hendrix, and I'll read you the synopsis of it because it is a new release. Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic, her teenage kids have their own lives, her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. And at these meetings, they're likely to talk about the Mason family as they are about their own families. One evening after book club, Patricia is viciously attacked by an elderly neighbor, bringing the neighborhood's handsome nephew, James Harris, into her life. James is well-traveled and well-read, and he makes Patricia feel things she hasn't felt in years. But when children on the other side of town go missing or deaths written off by local police, Patricia has reason to believe that James Harris is more of a Bundy than a Brad Pitt. The real problem? James is a monster of a different kind, and Patricia has already invited him in. Little by little, James will bring himself into Patricia's life and try to take everything she took for granted, including the book club, but she won't surrender without a fight in this blood-soaked tale of neighborly kindness gone wrong. This sounds so absurd, and as I just said earlier, I went to college in Charleston. I went to the College of Charleston, and so I'm very familiar with the setting of this, and it just sounded like so much fun, and we need some fun in these times. So I don't know that I'm gonna get to this anytime soon, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading this when I get a chance. Then my real problem is I ordered a lot from Book Outlet when they were doing 30% off. This thing is so heavy. Got it. There's so many books in here. You see all of that? I ordered a lot of books. Alright, first is a paperback of a book called Beckoning of the Fallen Gods by R.A. Salvatore. This is the second book in, what is this? The Coven novel, I guess, or Coven series. I read Child of a Mad God last year, and R.A. Salvatore has always been one of my favorite books, so while this really isn't talked a whole lot about on BookTube, I still follow and purchase a lot of R.A. Salvatore's novels. This is like Dungeons, it's not set in the Dungeons and Dragons realm, but Dungeons and Dragons type of story where you've got barbarian people who live in the mountains, and there's priestesses and stuff like that. But it's good, not great, but I still enjoy the series, so second book, ready to go. Then the next book I got is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the very first book in the Murderbot series, and they're novellas, so it's very short, and I've been hearing people talk about Murderbot forever, and I was like, I have to read Murderbot. It sounds so interesting, so I found it on Book Outlet for really cheap, decided to pick up the first book and get to my Murderbot adventures. And I guess I should say a lot of these books were on my Barnes & Noble wish list, and I just ordered them because they were available, because I put things on my Barnes & Noble wish list, but I don't actually buy anything ever from Barnes & Noble. It's just like a separate entity that I use as a wish list. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I went through that whole wish list, and anything that I could find on Book Outlets off of that wish list for a reasonable price, I ended up purchasing. So you know where I got the idea for these books. This is called The Test. This is, I don't super know what it's about, but I've heard a lot of people say that they really like it. And apparently this young man is taking a British citizenship test, and the test somehow takes a tragic turn, and he has the power of life and death through this test. But yeah. I don't really know why I purchased this, other than I keep hearing that it's a good book. So, and it's also super, super novella short, so I don't mind reading it because it's short. Next up, I've got The Night Tiger. So this takes place in colonial Malaysia, and you have a girl who works as a seamstress and as a, what was the word I'm looking for? A dance hall girl to help pay off her mother's debt. And one night she gets a finger, like somebody gives her like a severed finger as a tip, and you have her like trying to figure out like what the hell to do with this finger. Like obviously it belongs to somebody. And then there's another point of the story from a young man who is trying to find his master's missing finger, which I'm gonna assume is the same finger, because he needs it to lay his master. His master's been killed. They need to have an entire body to lay somebody to rest. So, also something I've heard about from BookTube that people were saying is really good. Or at least the person that I watched it. Some of these have like multiple recommendations and some of them only have one, but they're all from people that I trust their opinions on books. So, next. The next is a group of books. So these are from the Program series by Susan Young. I love Susan Young's writing. I've read quite a few of her books, and these were all like $1 something. So I figured out, I have the first 3 books in the series for sure, and I kind of just finished off, at least as part of the series, or maybe more in it. It was just these particular books were all dirt cheap. So I grabbed them. Let's see. No, it looks like there's 5 books or 6 books in the series from the back. So, the Program, the Treatment, and the Remedy, those 3 books I own already. And then I got the Epidemic, the Adjustment, and the Complication, which should be the last books in the series. Susan Young, if you think the name sounds familiar, she wrote Girls with Sharp Sticks. So I really, really enjoyed that book. I read the Program years ago, and I just kind of wanted to reread this series. Young adult, post-apocalyptic, my kind of thing. I don't know when I'm going to get to these, but for like $1.50, $2, I'll buy them. I ain't mad. Next up is another series that a billion people have been telling me to read because I like fantasy. I know one of my girlfriends recently read this series, and it's Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I don't know what this is about. I think it's a Rapunzel retelling, but I could be completely wrong. And I just know it's fantasy, and that's it. I buy really weird things for no reason whatsoever. Next up, I have a book called The Wood, which I don't remember ordering. This is a horror story from the cover, as we can tell. I honestly don't remember ordering this one at all. So, okay. This is a horror story. This young lady is a guardian of the woods, and she has to team up with a guy that she doesn't really know to figure out what's going on with the wood because the wood is turning evil. At least that's what the synopsis on the back says. I legitimately don't remember ordering this book. So I don't know if it's actually in here, or I don't know if I clicked on it for some other reason and accidentally added it to my cart. I don't remember this book. The next 2 books are by the same author. They're by Jon Ronson, and they are The Psychopath Test and So You've Been Publicly Shamed. Both of these I've heard about from a couple different people, thinking or hearing that they're just kind of like interesting stories. This is basically a book about like every 100 people, or 1 in every 100 people is a psychopath who, they have no empathy, they're manipulative. It kind of goes about into the background of what it means to be a psychopath, and it's just like key characteristics of psychopaths, and saying that a bunch of really wealthy business leaders are high-functioning psychopaths. So it sounds weird and interesting, and I think that's what I like about Jon Ronson, at least from what I've heard of him. I've never read any of his books, but apparently he writes just really weird things, and I like weird books, so I got these two. So You've Been Publicly Shamed. This is basically a book about the author talking to people who have said maybe stupid things on social media, or just been publicly shamed for one reason or another, and kind of like going through them, like experiencing how these bad viral things that they did changed their life because they were stupid. So it sounds interesting again. Next up, I've got another thriller. I love the Sookie Stackhouse series, so I ended up getting a another series by Charlaine Harris, who writes the Sookie Stackhouse, or True Blood if you've only seen the television show. This is, I believe, a suspense novel. Let's see. Post-apocalyptic magic western is what this is. So after the world's end, this is part of a new southern United States called Texoma, which is right now the border between Oklahoma and Texas. Texoma makes sense. That's probably why I picked it up. Even though I went to college in Charleston, I grew up in Oklahoma. She is a cowboy for hire, or a gun for hire, and she takes a job from a pair of Russian wizards to be their guide through the Texoma countryside. It sounds so absurd, and exactly the kind of absurd that I need right now in my life. Next is a book called, oh, it's wet. Stupid rain. Next is a book called Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade. I believe this came out last year, but it's about the chosen one trope that you see in fantasy a lot, but it kind of like turns the entire trope on its head, where either the chosen one dies really early in the book, or just like refuses to be the chosen one, and he's like, F you, I don't care, I'm done. I can't remember which one I'm gonna assume, but I know it's one of the two. And it's about like, what does a community do when their chosen one is not being the chosen one, and they have to survive the apocalypse without their chosen one. So that's kind of an interesting take on that trope. I think it subverts a lot of other tropes as well. I've heard mixed about this. I've heard some people say that it's good, and then some people say that yes, you're trying to subvert tropes, but you're still using the stupid tropes to subvert them, and then it's not very good. So I don't know, I like fantasy. I figured I'd try it because it sounds different. And then my last book in this box got super freaking damaged. Thank you. This is Robert Jordan, the Warrior of Altai. I probably pronounced it wrong, but look at this. What did they do to my book? It's super damaged. Jerks. Anyway, I'll survive. Robert Jordan passed away many years ago, before he completed the Wheel of Time series, and Brandon Sanderson ended up finishing the series out for him, but apparently this is a book that he wrote when he was still alive that his wife just edited and was released now. So I love the Wheel of Time series. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with the Wheel of Time series. I love the Wheel of Time series up to book 6. From book 7 to 12? Yeah, 12. It's boring. Then Brandon Sanderson's takes over on book 15 book 13, and 13 and 14 are really good. A lot of 15 is good, and then I hate how the series ended. Like, completely, absolutely hate everything about how that series ended. So, love-hate relationship with that series. I just pretend like the first books are the only books that exist, and I remain in my happy bubble with Wheel of Time. But I did like his original works, so I wanted to read this, and it's a lot shorter than I actually thought it was. But that is it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14. That's gonna fall. So, I ordered 14 books. This is why you shouldn't let me just stay at home and buy things, because I buy books that I don't need. There is not a single one of these books that I actually plan to read anytime soon. This is really just, I was bored on the internet and there was a sale. I mean, this one was a pre-order, so that doesn't count. But yeah. Hopefully I can get to some of these before the end of the year. If not, they're just gonna go on my TBR and just chill in the world of my TBR, where they'll get read eventually. I think next year my big thing is going to be getting through my TBR. A lot of these I think I want to pick up like as I have time. I actually might read one of these 2 books for the OWLs, because one of the prompts is a book under 150 pages. And let's see. This one is 149 pages. And this one is 104 pages. So I may pick up one of these 2 for the OWLs and replace out the short story by Lovecraft that I was going to read. So I might read one of these this month. The other one would be, that I have a short story for, was a title that begins with an M, but none of these begin with an M. So nothing else will be getting picked up. Fun. But yes, this is where we are. Hopefully we don't do this again anytime soon. But I will see you in the next video.